So, Michael, 2021, it's almost over. What a year it's been. Better or worse than the previous year, 2020? Well, you tell me.
Well, you know what? I feel like 2021 might have been a more boring year in a way. Because like with 2020, there was the excitement of COVID. It was like a new thing. And obviously it wasn't a good thing. But also I felt like there was more hope in 2020. Like you felt like, oh, maybe this COVID thing won't be... Like I remember back in February being like, oh, maybe it won't be an issue. Obviously you had, for example, the election. That was an exciting thing. 2021 has just been a massive extended plateau, I kind of feel.
Yeah.
That's my take.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. A good comparison there, Michael, to a plateau, I think. Things have just kind of happened and, yeah, it's been shit. But next year we got the midterms, of course, in America. So that's something to look forward to. But yeah, God, 2021, Michael, it's finally over. And of course, what we're going to be doing today is we're going to be going through our predictions, our political predictions, of course, from this year. And we're going to see whether we, got them right. We did a video back in January predicting some things to do with American politics, some COVID stuff and some British politics stuff. So we're going to run through and see if we are indeed Nostradamus or we're morons. We're
not Nostradamus.
Okay, so our first prediction, Michael, was that not much would change in Congress in America. So basically, we both agreed that even though the Democrats now controlled all three branches of the federal government, of course, Biden is the president, the Senate was 50-50, but Harris had the deciding votes, and of course the House of Representatives was controlled by the Democrats as well. Even though all those three things occurred, not much would change in terms of bills being passed. And I think, it's been another disappointing year with the Democrats in charge. I mentioned there had been talks on increasing the federal minimum wage to about $15 an hour in our January video. That has not passed. It failed in the Senate after it was brought to a vote, and I think 10 Democrats voted against it, including Kristen Sinema. She did her great thumbs down pose, her infamous thumbs down pose in front of Mitch McConnell, trying to get his attention. That was a really cool thing to see. We didn't predict that, unfortunately, but we did predict that would probably not get passed, and there you go, it didn't get passed. We also predicted that the Democrats, who could remove the Trump tax cuts that were passed in 2018, they could do it, but we predicted they would not do it, and they did not do it. I don't think there has been any talk in the past year of Democrats reversing, the tax cuts for the rich. And indeed, in the recent Build Back Better bill, they added in a tax cut to the rich by getting rid of SALT in the recent passing of that bill in the House of Representatives. A lot of right-wing Democrats like that a lot. I think Congressman Gottheimer was the main instigator of that. So just typical Democrat behaviour, really. And we were right, no reversing tax cuts on the rich and no $15 minimum wage either.
I can't believe they acted completely in character. And obviously, I mean, we also, of course, our last video on this channel was all about the Democrats being disappointing with the Build Back Better bill, and obviously, rather predictably, just having a few Democrats just holding up progress so they don't actually have to introduce anything, because that would be terrible if they introduced everything. That seems to be their strategy, and seeing as they don't want to introduce anything, it's not really surprising that they're not doing it.
Yeah, we both doubted, those two things were going to happen. And of course, things maybe got worse than we predicted in terms of the tax cuts for the rich. But again, there hasn't been this massive change in Congress, even though the Dems are in charge. Congress is basically still serving the wealthy and corporations. I mean, the Build Back Better bill, which will probably be passed in the Senate after this video is released sometime in mid-December. That'll be good, I guess, but it won't be a massive change. It's pretty mediocre. I mean, we covered in the last video, how much it's been watered down. So we kind of predicted that the Congress under the Dems would be disappointing. That's exactly what has happened. So we're so good at acknowledging how bad the Democrats are, Michael.
That was probably... I guess we did a good job starting off with the thing that was most likely to be correct. People will go back at that video and be like, wow, I can't believe they predicted this.
Yes, I know. But again, I don't think it was that hard to predict because we all know how the Democrats actually are. But our second prediction, and maybe not so correct, was that Biden will be boring and he will basically be ignored. And I said that Kamala Harris would be getting a lot of media attention. In fact, more media attention would go to her compared to any other vice president in modern US history because of the fact that she's the first female vice president. She's a person of colour, etc., etc. Now, I think on the Biden being boring prediction, I don't think he's been boring. He's just been hidden by his advisors because, there have been quite a few times when he's appeared at a town hall doing weird things, such as standing like there's a podium in front of him when there's not, or just having a brain aneurysm up on stage. So I'm kind of right on that. But again, I think he got a lot of attention when he pulled out of Afghanistan, of course. Yeah. I would say it's not really that correct. What would you say?
Yeah, I mean, obviously when he's done these big things, he's got attention. I guess in a kind of day-to-day thing, he's just not done as many exciting things. And I mean, ultimately, I guess he was always going to get at least some attention. I think really, though, it is surprising how little I've seen of Kamala Harris be mentioned. That is quite... And, even right-wing media, I haven't seen them complain as much about her as they were, for example, in the build-up to the election.
Yeah, you know what? That was, of course, the other thing that I mentioned, was that she would be, the number one target for Fox News. They would play up her prominence in the Biden administration to try and scare people because Biden, as an old white guy, wouldn't rake in the viewers. But yeah, not really. I remember there was this clip earlier on in the year from Tucker Carlson's show where he basically blasted Kamala Harris and said, she was the real president. But of course, that is an isolated incident, which I remember because it's like, oh, my prediction's coming true. But since then, it's kind of been crickets on that. And yeah, she really hasn't been that, out there in the media as well. Like the liberal mainstream media don't really care that much about her. And I think her most infamous moment of the year was when she was, of course, Biden appointed her as a border czar, which was a great move by Biden because, no one wants to deal with that. And, of course, Harris had to stand there at the border and say, do not come. Do not come.
I want to be clear to folks in this region who are thinking about making that dangerous trek to the United States-Mexico border. Do not come. Do not come.
Which, again, here's another prediction we didn't do. Biden wouldn't free the kids from the cages at the border. That hasn't happened, and of course, the immigration policy from Biden has been probably like 95% as bad as Donald Trump, which again is very predictable. But yeah, I think overall, maybe it's just because Kamala Harris has just been so unpopular. Like that's why she isn't out there as much because her approval ratings are shockingly bad. Nobody likes her, which is quite predictable. I have to say as well.
What about SNL?
Yeah, SNL. Yeah, they wish they could do their parodies of how much Kamala Harris is liked, but yeah, they've kind of ignored them. You know what? I have what I see from SNL because obviously sometimes I see their videos. Their cold opens aren't to do with Joe Biden. The cold opens are like Janine Pirro on Fox News and like some guy who does a good impression of Donald Trump. Doing an impression of Donald Trump, But again, it's weird, like they're not focusing at all on Biden and Harris. So yeah, they've kind of been in the background really, apart from Afghanistan. And that's something I didn't predict, by the way, and I don't think I would. The United States withdrawing from Afghanistan. So you know what, credit to Biden for surprising us, I think, there. I think that was a good decision, and yeah, fair play to him. But yeah, we shall move on to Donald Trump now. And I think I have been surprised this year how much Trump has been in the background. We said he would not start Trump TV. We got that right. You said he was a bit of a grifter and wouldn't put in the effort to do something.
Did I get that right?
Yes. But yeah, you were right. He didn't put in the effort and he would never do something like this because you imagine all the stuff you'd have to go through. And yeah, he can just go on OAN and just, spout whatever he likes. And that's what he basically has been doing. And unfortunately, I also suggested that he start a reality TV show about picking a mayor of a small town in America. That has not happened, which is a crying shame, I will say. But yeah, he's just kind of been in the background, slighting Alec Baldwin when he killed someone, just doing his thing. And yeah, we also said that Trump would not get impeached. We said Mitch McConnell wouldn't do it because, they think he's too valuable to the Republican Party. And we also agreed that Donald Trump would not be prosecuted, and he hasn't been prosecuted. We said that the Democrats will want people to forget about Trump while he was president. It will establish a dangerous precedent for the Democrats. You said that, Michael, and also that Democratic donors will not want the Department of Justice to go after Trump and prosecute him, since, again, it would set a precedent. And, again, there's so much stuff to dive into concerning this guy in terms of money laundering and tax avoidance, but we've heard nothing of that really especially in the past year. So yeah, we were right on that as well, weren't we?
No, yeah, it seems like, I mean, we did a pretty good job with America, all things considered. Definitely, yeah, the idea that the Democrats, it kind of, I mean, it's basically just predicted the Democrats would be rubbish. Because, yeah, obviously they have these dodgy donors and lots of people in the Democratic Party who are like Trump. So, yeah, they aren't going to want to go against that. Really not surprising.
And yeah, again, nothing from the Department of Justice at all about Trump, which, you know, I mean, it's not like they're focusing all their attention on, you know, trying to deport immigrants. Oh, wait, they are. So again, it's, yeah, some things, again, Afghanistan, good. That's the only real thing I can say from this year that, like, Biden has surprised me with. A positive surprise at that. But anyway, let's go on to COVID, Michael. So we said that things would get more normal, basically, after April. And I said there wouldn't be a normal year until 2023. Sadly, it looks to be the case. We're about to hit 2022 and still things don't look great. And yeah, I said Tokyo will have no foreign fans or no fans from other countries will be at the Euros. And those were both unfortunately correct. I did say also that the UK will need another lockdown and we won't get one and the vaccination rate will be used as an excuse. I have to say, I think I'm wrong on that one. I don't think we have needed another lockdown. And, you know, I think the vaccines have been more effective than I guess I thought at the time. So, yeah, I'm happy to be wrong on that.
Just goes to show you're not a doctor.
Yeah, this was back in January when the vaccines hadn't, like, been, you know,
properly, yeah, exactly, yeah.
So, you know, I didn't know how big an effect they would have, I have to say. But, you know,
I mean, it was back when for all we knew, the vaccines could have been just designed to turn us all into beta males or something.
Oh, yeah.
That was a very serious possibility back then, whereas now we know, now we've taken them and we're still the big alphas we are. We've debunked that.
Yeah, we should have predicted, actually, when talking about the vaccines, that conservatives in America just wouldn't take them. Like you'd have 33% full vaccination rate in, for instance, Mississippi, which of course was the case. But yeah, we didn't predict that, unfortunately. But yeah, there are some new laws in the UK that you've got to wear masks on public transport that have just come in. But you know that isn't anywhere near a lockdown. So yeah, we'll see how that goes. But I'm happy if there isn't another lockdown. So I'm glad I'm wrong on that. So on to British politics now, with our next slate of predictions. So I predicted rather boldly, Michael, at the start of the year that Boris Johnson would not be Prime Minister by the end of the year and he would have to resign. I said he handled COVID poorly, and of course throughout the remaining months he did. And, Conservative MPs were going to get annoyed at his general incompetence. People will notice, quote unquote, the holes in the Brexit deal he signed. This will lead to a slower recovery compared to the rest of Europe, and he will be blamed for both COVID and, the Brexit deal. I thought he would be a useful scapegoat. It's not the Conservative Party in general, and the right-wing press and them teaming up to just create this fucking disaster. No, this is all on Boris Johnson. Look at him; he's an incompetent moron. But that hasn't happened yet, and nobody has really gone after him. Certainly in the press and with the opposition as well, concerning all the COVID deaths and. Brexit has made things more expensive in this country, as predicted, but yeah, like I said, the press don't really seem to care that much yet. However, he did get into hot water after the corruption scandal a couple of weeks ago with Owen Paterson, when he, for some reason, decided to get rid of the MP standards just because Owen Paterson falls foul of them, which was entirely his own doing, and his poll numbers dipped. And now it has emerged in the last week, a year after it happened, that he held a party in Downing Street while the UK was basically in lockdown. And it's hilarious that this could be the end of him. Like, after all the deaths, the corruption, the creeping fascism with bills like the Nationality and Borders Bill. I mean, the fascism, I don't know if it seems like creeping anymore, but anyway, like this could be it. Him holding a party when he shouldn't have could be the end of him. Yeah. So what do you think, Michael?
I tell you what, Luke, it's just more evidence of the war on Christmas. That, I would love to see The Last Ounce of Courage remake starring Boris Johnson defending his right to have a Christmas party and standing up, frankly, to the government's terrible authoritarian policies preventing people from having Christmas parties. And I think Boris Johnson's a hero. In sincerity, I do agree with you that it seems like ultimately at some point the Conservative Party has to cast off Boris Johnson, and I definitely don't think he will be standing in the next election, because he's just going to have so much baggage by that point. But the question is, when does it become useful to cast him off? Obviously, I assume we're accepting it probably won't be by the end of the year. But yeah, at some point now, there's just so much stuff. They're going to have to get rid of him at some point. And when they do, everyone will forget terrible things that he did and won't blame the Conservatives at all. I think that's definitely true.
Yeah, and obviously, my prediction was by the end of the year. Well, he's only got a few days left to go, and obviously it might happen in January or February. I don't know. But yeah, Allegra Stratton, she resigned. His press secretary did after joking about...
Why didn't you predict that?
I know. Anyway, here's the video of her doing just that.
I've just seen reports on Twitter that there was a Downing Street Christmas party on Friday night. Do you recognise those reports?
I went home. Hold on.
Would the Prime Minister condone having a Christmas party?
What's the answer?
I don't know.
It wasn't a party, it was cheese and wine.
Just be clear, it's not.
Is cheese and wine all right? No. It was a business meeting.
I'm joking.
This is recorded. His fictional party was a business meeting. And it was not socially distanced.
So yeah, she's gone, but not Boris yet. So I could be just a couple of months off in my prediction. But anyway, the thing is, obviously, the Conservatives, they play politics on easy mode, and maybe Boris has just gone too far this time. But the thing is, the right-wing press, they may be forced to get rid of him earlier than they would have liked, because the thing is, a lot of them held Christmas parties as well. And were a lot of senior British journalists, unsurprisingly, given the fucking horrendous relationship that British journalists have with the government, were at these government parties. So yeah, if they're mingling and the government's in trouble, well, then they're in trouble. So it's all a bit like kind of awkward for them. But yeah, Boris may be forced to go if his polling numbers drop quite a lot. Even though the right-wing press, they didn't really want to do it, but there you go. Again, I don't think it'll happen this year, but I did say the guy who would replace Boris would be Rishi Sunak, and that seems like it's still going to be the case, because I haven't seen his name mentioned in any of these, parties. He stayed well clear of this scandal, so that would be, that's good for him. Maybe he got an invite to one of the parties and was like, you know what, this might come back to bite us in a year, so I'm gonna leave. I'm not gonna be involved. So yeah, and I definitely agree with you that Boris won't be standing as Prime Minister when the Conservatives next have a general election. And again, I would predict it would be Rishi Sunak.
Yeah, I think Rishi Sunak would be a likely choice. And obviously, he doesn't quite have the personality of Boris, and it's fair to say personality is something Boris had to his favour, but the Conservatives seem to have done okay in elections, even without personality in the past. So I'm sure they'll still be able to pull through.
Yeah, no, I'm sure they'll be fine. Again, I don't think the press wanted to get rid of Boris yet, because, they weren't out of the woods in terms of COVID, and they wanted, a completely fresh start. But yeah, it may be they may be forced to get rid of him a bit early, but unfortunately a bit late for my prediction. But anyway, let's get on to Keir Starmer now, Michael. Keir Starmer. So I said in the prediction video, he was out of his depth.
Yeah.
He had no charisma, no good political instincts, and I think that has, over the course of the year, proven to be true.
Yes.
Starmer, I said, cares about what the press thinks, and he recently promoted Yvette Cooper to be Home Secretary, and that, to me, seems exactly like what I said. He cares what the press thinks, because there's no reason to promote Yvette Cooper at all, but she's got a lot of fans in the UK media. A familiar theme, I think, with our predictions is that the UK media has a lot of power within the political sphere in the UK. But anyway, I said people won't be impressed with Starmer, and his approval ratings have been bad, like very, very bad. Consider, of course, Labour had an awful performance at the 2021 local elections, which it was probably worse than I would have thought. And yeah, his poll numbers, I did say as well, his poll numbers will dip more and more in the coming months, and they did. And so why hasn't he gone, Michael? Why is he still there?
Yeah, exactly. You predicted everything that should have led to him being fired. And if anything, it was worse than you predicted. And yet still you're wrong about him getting fired, or, fired, resigned, whatever.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, he just held on to Batley and Spen, that by-election, by, I think, 300 votes, in the summer. And that kind of saved him, because if he'd lost that, then maybe he would have gone. I don't know. But yeah, at the end of the day, and I said this in a video a few weeks after our predictions video, my solo vid on Starmer, I said, if he were to go, the Labour right would lose power in the party potentially, because, another Jeremy Corbyn supporter would be brought in. And now, of course, he's got all the Blairites around him. For instance, Rachel Reeves is the new Shadow Chancellor this year, replacing Annalise Dodds. And therefore, Blairite MPs won't go on Newsnight or, tell Laura Kuenssberg via WhatsApp how awful Starmer is. He won't get the Corbyn treatment via the press and the party, no matter how poorly he's done, because he has shown he is on, the right wing of the Labour Party side. And yeah, with his moves, he wants the press to like him. He cares what they think. So they're not going to monster him. And yeah, I think unfortunately that is what he has had to do to survive. Because otherwise, the only people in the Labour Party who have the power to really get rid of him are these, Blairites. So no matter how bad it gets for him now, he will be fine because he has shown he is on their side. Again, if he lost Batley and Spen, I don't know, maybe he would have gone then. But if he lost like a Batley and Spen by-election now, I think he would not go because he has assimilated himself properly within the right wing of the Labour Party. So they would not see any reason to let him go because, they completely control the party now, and just basically getting rid of that would be, to them, counterproductive.
But Luke, I thought it was all about electability. That's why they wanted Keir Starmer in charge.
Yeah, no, all about electability, absolutely. And that's why in the Labour Party conference, they were so insistent for some weird reason on changing the rules to elect the next Labour leader. That was when the Conservatives were having problems. Well, they have been for the last year. But yeah, Labour focused so much time and attention. Why would they do that on changing the rules on how to elect the next Labour leader? They initially wanted to go back to the pre-2015 voting system where 33% of the votes were via MPs, 33% were via trade unions, and 33% via the members, to, of course, reduce the members' ability to vote for the next Labour leader. Instead, they settled on if you want to be nominated for Labour leader, you have to get 20% of the Parliamentary Labour Party's approval to do so, and that was increased from 10%. So it doubles the threshold, so that means that like a socialist or a left-wing Labour leader is much less likely because the Parliamentary Labour Party are basically very right-wing compared to the rest of the Labour Party membership. That's what they did, and that's why, of course, Keir Starmer backed those reforms wholeheartedly. And it seems to me that the Labour right have complete control of the party, and so therefore, Starmer's doing what they want, so there's no reason to get rid of him.
No, I don't think so. Yeah, I think ultimately, our predictions weren't too bad actually, but just and really we should have been right with the Keir Starmer thing. I think we just underestimated how ridiculous the Labour Party, or the Blairites in the Labour Party would get. So yeah, it's not that our predictions were wrong; it's that they were wrong.
Yeah, exactly. He should, looking at his approval ratings, particularly in the middle of the year, he should have gone. He should have, but he just hung on. So, final thoughts, Michael, on this video and this year?
Well, yeah, like I say, I think actually our predictions are pretty good, but ultimately, just in disappointing ways, they were generally wrong. Unfortunately, I guess our predictions came from a largely cynical place. And yet, even then, I think our cynicism wasn't sufficient to cover the full extent of 2021. So that's my conclusion.
Yeah, no, that's a good conclusion. So on that note, Merry Christmas and Happy New Year.
Oh dear.